Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So today we have a quite lengthy video, but I did have a very interesting Alliance Quest run and I enjoyed it myself, so I figured I will share it with you guys. It by no means will go perfect, and the biggest amount of mistakes is going to happen in the first fights after I wake up in the morning, as they usually do. But as you can see, I decided to bring in Professor X, Phoenix, and Archangel. And the team actually quite well fits the needs that I kind of have to do in my lanes. Now, the first path is filled with like Bane, and there's an Electro to deal with. So you can kind of use any champion for Sentry and Luke Cage fights. Obviously, against Electro, you do want to kind of hard counter the guy. And then the second lane, I have counter tactics and combo party, and there's a very nasty void to deal with, which I'm gonna, well, the plan is to use Archangel. And then in section 3, I'm up against Delirium lanes, which are quite annoying. Reverse controls, obviously, are tricky, are not kind of like uncounterable by regular play, but Professor X having the immunity to reverse control should be quite useful. Unfortunately, I'm not doing the best job here when it comes to managing that Bane timing, Bane transfer with Professor X, so I did lose quite significant amount of health already in the first fight. But now that I have reached a level 2, I basically just keep on spamming it till the fight is over. So fairly rough first fight, to be honest. I wasn't overly happy with it at all. Against Electro, I'm just going to bring in Archangel, and Archangel is going to do a fantastic job, even though we're going to see that I'm not getting lucky with my RNG at all. This is like second heavy attack in a row, and we see that no bleeds have been applied yet. So I didn't throw the heavy attack there on purpose, just to help myself with the Bane a bit more, but at least the last heavy attack did inflict 3 bleeds, and now we can start dealing some serious damage. One of the favorite things for me personally to do with Archangel is also chaining my level 1s midway through the heavy attack. And that, I don't know, it just kind of became habit quite recently with me, and it seems to be working out quite fine for me. So soon after that, couple of neurotoxins on Electro and job's a good one. Now, I already have 2 counters on Professor X, and one of his roles obviously is not just a standalone champion in this scenario. He has synergy with Phoenix and with Archangel, and the more counters he gets, the more potent those synergies are. So first and foremost, all of the mutant and X-Men champions will gain their special attack damage increase. Phoenix actually gains some very, very potent furies every time she enters overload mode, and Archangel synergy obviously makes Archangel a slightly better champion, as well as provides all the mutants except Professor X with like a power gain, and that all stuff is quite helpful to say the least. So here at this point, I'm just charging the heavy attacks. The plan here is as well to start a heavy attack charge and then drop my level 3, because I get extra prowess that way. It's one small Professor X tip or trick. If you interrupt your own heavy attack with your own special attack, then you're going to gain a prowess from doing so, and that is just additional small thing that can help you build up Professor X quicker. And now one nice level 2, and the fight is over. So again, not the perfect start by any means, but at least we are through here, and I thought that it would be it for the first day. But then I checked up on Alliance Quest later on, and I had some energy, and I decided to go and deal with this unstoppable colossus using Professor X. Perhaps I shouldn't have, but it's gonna work out just about fine. So as always, the first thing that I want to do here is build up some of my channeling charges, and once we can kind of like have a massive burst of damage. Also, mutant champions in this fight do not lose half of their attack, so obviously that's part of the reason why I decided to take this fight. And yeah, now I'm at 100 channeling charges. I just need to get either to my level 3 or level 2, and I'm going to be doing just fine. All right, here's going to be an interesting thing as well that happens after level 3 here in a second. So again, I do want to interrupt my heavy attack with a special attack when I get to actually dropping that special. I want to get up to 3 bars of power in this case. So the main goal for now is definitely just to build up power. I have already gotten 100 channeling charges, and getting a slight amount of heal from that, what is it, Spectre debuff, because it doesn't reverse healing quite 100%. On day 1, ASR always chooses Cascading Failure, because I do think it is pretty much the most annoying node, and quite often I specifically run either Guardian or Guillotine 2099 just for that. But I wanted to say, against Unstoppable Colossus, he doesn't retain as much power as he should. So I think that's because of that helmet thing, because that typically happens only against like robots. So I did notice that, yeah, I didn't have as much power there as I should have, which is quite interesting. So at this point, I'm going to throw a special attack in his block on purpose just to be able to refresh my prowesses so they do not fall off. And now that I am at 100 channeling, my one and only goal in this fight really is just to get to level 2 and nuke in the guy and hopefully deal enough damage, because at 6 prowesses, Professor X is already kind of hitting quite hard. So we're going to see the damage there just in a second. I do want him to dash in at me. I don't want him to use that special attack, but unfortunately that's exactly what he did. So we can see that my prowesses are about to run out again, but here I drop my level 2, and that actually turns out to be enough to finish off the fight. And this is also first time I actually use my rank 3 Professor X, like anywhere, because I ranked him up and I have been like very busy and I didn't really have all that much time to play about with him. But I'm liking him more so far, because one of the biggest things about Professor X is because he's quite squishy. He has like every more health pool. And obviously having him at rank 3 and having adrenaline mechanic is quite helpful. And now off to what is probably my favorite thing in this entire Alliance Quest run, and the main reason why I am going to upload it. Well, this and some fights in Section 3 later on. I'm using Phoenix for this Magneto mini-boss with increased physical resistance and all that other stuff. But since this is a very long fight, we're going to see basically the Professor X synergy here on full display. Every time I enter Overload mode, I'm getting this 60% Fury, I believe, and you can stack up to 5 of those. So my sole plan for this fight, and I'm not saying I'm playing it perfectly, I'm sure there's somebody who can play Phoenix better or more effective, but the sole plan is pretty much just to get to as many of those Furies as quickly as I can. So I do want to spam my heavy attacks to disable that Flux Dispersal, and in addition to that, just get more Phoenix charges. That gives me more Fury buffs, and what gives me more Fury buffs gets me to Overload quicker, and I can stack up those huge Furies from Professor X synergy. And as we can see here, it's not going too bad now. I'm taking a ton of block damage, but obviously Phoenix is Phoenix, so I will be able to heal at some point in this fight. And also that Cascading Failure debuffs are kind of helping me, but they can also be my downfall, because if I die whilst that Spectre is active, well, I'm not going to heal much, will I? So I need to be very careful with them debuffs here in this fight. So we have spent 1:50 in this fight already. He's at like 56%, but there we go with a nice solid 20k heavy attack crit, which isn't bad. And at this point, I'm nearly down. I'm nearly dead. And I do block it, and we can see that I heal back up completely to full, which is awesome. But I also need to keep in mind that I have used my heal, and that's it. I cannot heal anymore. So I just waited a bit more to get some more Furies active. And with that, I'm going to drop a level 3. Unfortunately, obviously, level 3 does spend some time. And here, I don't even know how I was able to parry. I should have gotten hit in the face, because technically he's unblockable there from the node. But hey, the parry worked, so cool, right? And yeah, I should have gotten smacked in the face there. But the time is running out, and the timeout seems like is going to be pretty much inevitable. Again, I'm sure that if I played more aggressive or maybe a bit better, I could have finished this fight out without timeout. But overall, I was quite happy. Phoenix putting in work, and yeah, map 7, high prestige, no less. So very happy with Phoenix, and still retained enough health. And again, I will be able to use Phoenix's heal again, so the timeout isn't the biggest deal for this character. So my main goal before taking too much block damage here, quite obviously, is just to get more of those Phoenix Force charges, just so I can make sure that I heal up plenty before this fight's finished. And again, the healing mastery kicks in. Unfortunately, I did make a small slip up. I did heal up to full, but I already get tagged once, so that was slightly annoying, you could say. But Magneto at this point is only at 12%, so I'm just gonna go in and try and finish the fight off the best I can. Also, how to keep in mind the flux dispersal charges there. But 5% health and a bunch of incinerates on him. I'm gonna remove all the flux dispersal charges. 3% should be good after this level 2. And yeah, that is it. Phoenix took down the Magneto mini boss in map 7. That's kind of cool. And next I will, I think, teleport off to my path in section 2. It's quite hard to believe that all this time we're still in section 1. But these fights are very early in the morning, and I have the bad habit of doing these fights when I'm still half asleep, and that often cost me. And today is no exception. So I don't often use items on map 7 runs, but obviously I also think it's important to show some of the bad days, quote unquote, where not everything goes perfect, and this definitely was not one of the perfect days. So the trouble is going to start here in this void fight, where I'm just going to mess up, and there is not much else that can be said about it. The fight starts out perfectly, pretty much. I have 3 bleeds and neurotoxin active, and I time my hits well enough. I don't even get that first debuff, and at this point 2 neuros are there. And yeah, I feel very, very good about the fight. There's definitely nothing to worry about. But I kind of forgot about the cascading failure. I got hit. I'm at 14%, and it went from being on top of the fight to pretty much dead in mere seconds. Vast majority of the time, I always pick Nick Fury for this void just because of that luxury of the double health. But yeah, in this case, I just messed up. I could have won that fight clearly, and also cascading failure kind of like made it quite a bit trickier for me, I suppose, and that made me lose quite a bit of health. Finished the fight off with Phoenix, nothing special there. Still feel relatively alright, because obviously Phoenix can heal a ton, so I can afford myself quite a lot of block damage, or if I make any big mistake, Professor X synergy plus Phoenix's own regeneration abilities and all that stuff. I'm feeling good up until this point, even though I'm still like quite asleep. I probably should have just stepped aside and had my coffee before carrying on, but I decided to carry on nonetheless. So yeah, again, we're in the first Overlord, so we get that first big Fury from Professor X synergy, and Professor X is at 4 persistent charges, and with 4 of those, my special attack damage is increased by 100%, so Phoenix's specials will hit relatively hard. I have pushed myself at level 3 already, and I'm just kind of waiting for some more Fury buffs to activate there, so special 3 deals more damage. I'm gonna drop a heavy attack. She's only at like 27%. I enter Overlord and immediately drop my level 3, and that's gonna be more than enough to finish out this fight. I probably should have done it earlier, and it would have been enough. I had no need to take as much block damage as I did. But since my Phoenix is quite low on health, I started this Venom fight with the idea of just triggering that heal on purpose, which is something I quite often do with Phoenix, and that is going to unfortunately turn out to be my downfall quite early on in this fight. So again, the plan was, yes, to build up some Phoenix charges and to take a whole bunch of block damage just to trigger the Phoenix regeneration and, well, heal up properly. Heal up back to full and feel better about myself, I suppose. But unfortunately, he doesn't really want to throw that level 1. Sometimes he gets like that. And he's going to catch me. He's going to catch me here in a second with the last hit of the combo. And unfortunately, as he caught me, he also placed bleed on me. So not only I didn't get to heal as much as I would have liked to, but the bleed just finished me off. So that's it. Phoenix done and gone. So now we only have this Professor X left for the rest of the lanes and rest of the fights and everything. So at this point I realized they'll probably end up using some items. But Professor X is actually gonna put in some work from this point forward. So it's pretty much always the main plan here is build up some channeling charges, build up some power, and just finish off the fight quickly with a big burst of damage. So at this point I'm at 100 channeling charges, absolutely nothing to worry about. I'm just gonna try and build up a bit more power and drop my level 2. And we can see that level 2 did some damage, nothing too major, but I'm just gonna spam my special attacks here. I kind of hoped anything in that level 2 would crit. I would be much closer to finishing the fight. But it is what it is. At least this level 1 hit crits. That Phoenix has like 11% health left. Sorry, not Phoenix. Venom has 11% health left. And I can just finish it off relatively easily. Here I'm turbo channeling charges because I know he's going to falter if he tries to hit me, which he does right now. I'm at 100 and I kind of overdid it. But yeah, the fight is over. I should have just went in there and finished the fight before I actually did. And next up, it's going to be Wolverine fight, and then some very interesting fights in section 3 on path 4. That's the Delirium path. So against Wolverine, again, the plan, as always, with Professor X is fairly straightforward. Build up the channeling charges, get to either level 2 or level 3, and then in one single huge burst of damage, finish out the fight. Now there I actually got lucky. Professor X has that falter mechanic because I would have missed a parry. And I'm taking quite a lot of block damage, obviously, because this lane also has counter tactics. So these opponents have really, really high attack values at any given point where I have like combo over 10. So yeah, if you do mess up, it's gonna hurt a lot. And there I didn't realize that I didn't have 100 channeling charges, and that was like a big mistake already. I thought I had enough charges before I triggered my level 2. Unfortunately, I didn't. So it means I have to quickly try and get a whole bunch more power to finish out the fight. And yeah, so Professor X right now, level 2, the fight's pretty much over. I'm just gonna activate my level 1 to finish it off completely. And a bit messy, but all in all, not catastrophic fight, I guess you can say. Next, we're moving off to section 3. Somebody else took care of that second Magneto mini-boss, thank God. I'm a bit late here, so as you can see, most of the people have cleared their fights initially. The first fight here is Killmonger. So Killmonger with Strike Back and Delirium is actually quite a tricky fight for many champions. But Professor X largely plays around reverb damage because vast majority of his hits, basically all of his hits aside the first medium, are in fact energy-based projectiles, so I don't really get any reverb damage from my special attacks or from any other attack except the first medium, and that is definitely super helpful. Also, the fact that Professor X bypasses reverse controls helps a lot, but this lane is actually going to turn out to be quite cheesy lane for Professor X. Here I did mess up, and this was like the biggest mess up. I nearly died and I ate at level 1. And yeah, this is going to be the actual reason of why I end up having to use a potion. So I'm not going to die in this run anymore. I'm not going to revive or anything like that. But just to be safe, I will use one potion. Definitely not my greatest run, but I still wanted to upload it because of the Phoenix fight and also because of these upcoming fights right here, and also to showcase Professor X because, let's face it, it's quite cool. I think it's quite cool. And yeah, so I can ignore reverse controls, but these lanes, these nodes also have power reserve. And as we all know, Professor X interacts quite fondly with any mechanics that let him save power on top of his own mechanics that let him save power to spam special attacks. Now, unfortunately, I did end up dexing here far too much already, and I do need to wait for that unblockable to expire. But as soon as it does expire, as soon as I finish my channeling, we're going to see something quite fun. So at this point, we can see 100 channeling charges. I'm at level 2 finally. So I dropped my level 2 and I'm still at level 2. and I just dash in and I drop my level 2, and that's it. On power reserve, obviously Professor X is going to be such a cheese master, because you basically throw your special attacks for free, and every consecutive special attack you do end up throwing gives you prowess, and you just hit harder and harder and harder with your special attacks. So yeah, I did quite enjoy that, and I'm probably going to try to use the same team, maybe depending on what global modifiers are out there today, but I thoroughly enjoyed using Professor X for this run, definitely. Phoenix was cool as well. Phoenix put in some work. Archangel, unfortunately, I messed up without giving him too much opportunity to shine. But having to use Professor X as much as I did, I liked it a lot. He put in a solid amount of work, and here we can see again in a second how well he interacts with that power reserve node. You can see that drop a level 2 still at 2 bars of power, drop another level 2, and drop third level 2, and it's goodbye Captain America. Such a quick and bursty fight finish. You basically just need to get your level 2 and the fight's over, and it's very fun. And now the final fight of this Alliance Quest run is against Medusa. Unfortunately, there are no power reserve here, but Professor X with that mutant global node, which I think is somewhat useless, to be honest. I don't think it's well designed at all. It just gives you like true accuracy and I think like vigilance and something. I really don't care for it too much, and I don't think it's incentive enough to use like mutants or X-Men champions exclusively. I think it's one of the weaker global nodes that they have introduced, and for rest of the days I'll probably just use random champions instead of bringing in X-Men. But anyways, I do hope you guys have enjoyed today's video, today's AQ run. If you have, then please hit that like button, hit that sub button, hit all the buttons, and let me know what other type of AQ runs would you like to see, which champions showcased. I do not have the flexibility to change my path willy-nilly, but I can test out many different champions. So let me know who you would like to see in one of these videos in future. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and see you next time. Later. Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about